Dear resident, today we shall discuss another disease of respiratory system that are associated with the vascular compartment of lung, that is the pulmonary vascular component related disorders, and that is one of them is respiratory distress syndrome. So let us discuss respiratory distress syndrome. So this disease is associated with damage in the pulmonary component, destruction in the all pulmonary component, especially the pulmonary capillary endothelium, the alveolar wall, alveoli, the lining epithelium, the interstitial component, and the lumen of alveoli. So all these pulmonary component undergo destruction, and that destruction lead to sometime development of a dangerous condition which is clinically characterized by sudden severe onset of respiratory insufficiency or respiratory distress that are associated with tachycardia, tachypnea, cyanosis, and hypoxia. So this respiratory distress syndrome is almost always a life-threatening condition because here there is sudden onset of respiratory insufficiency followed by breathlessness, dyspnea, tachypnea, tachycardia, cyanosis, and hypoxia. So if the immediate treatment and emergency treatment is not done following after the onset of this respiratory distress syndrome, sometimes it becomes more fatal and may lead to the death also. So this respiratory distress syndrome can be happen in both age group. So this is mainly divided into two group. One that respiratory distress syndrome occur in the neonate called neonate RDS, respiratory distress syndrome, and if it occurs in the adult, it is called adult respiratory distress syndrome. So in both conditions, although the etiology is different, the etiopathogenesis is different, the development of the disease is different, but one thing is very common. The clinical presentation is same, like sudden and severe onset of respiratory insufficiency with tachypnea, tachycardia, cyanosis, and hypoxemia. And another similarity is that in both conditions, both in neonate RDS and adult RDS, there is pulmonary, following after the injury or destruction in the pulmonary component, like a pulmonary capillary endothelium, alveoli, alveolar epithelium, alveolar wall, they undergo destruction followed by the inflammatory reaction, and so the alveoli or alveolar duct has got congestion, accumulation of the fluid in the form of pulmonary edema, and there is deposition of fibrin and some of the inflammatory cell. So in the alveoli, in the alveolar wall, in the respiratory bronchial wall, there is formation of a hyaline membrane, eosinophilic hyaline membrane, which is mainly composed of fibrin along with the cell debris and inflammatory cell, edema and pulmonary edema and congestion. So this this pathognomic lesion is known as hyaline membrane. So in both conditions, neonatal RDS and adult RDS, Pathologically, it is characterized by formation of eosinophilic hyaline membrane on the wall of alveoli, alveolar duct, or respiratory bronchiole. So that is a similar pathological lesion, and the last outcome in the RDS, both neonate as well as adult RDS. So this hyaline membrane is mainly composed of fibrin along with the edema, along with the exudative material, congestion, inflammatory cells, and cell debris that whole make a membrane on the surface of alveolar wall or alveoli or respiratory bronchial wall, and that create a lot of problem in the form of there is a sudden severe onset of respiratory distress that may lead to the life threatening situation. So this is the main feature in case of respiratory distress syndrome, clinical as well as the pathological feature. Now let us see some important aspect of etiopathogenesis. So in both neonate as well as adult respiratory distress syndrome, the etiology, the mechanism for the development of respiratory distress syndrome is different. First of all, we shall take a neonate respiratory distress syndrome. So neonate respiratory distress syndrome occurs following after the delivery, following after birth. The baby suffers with the sudden and severe onset of the respiratory distress, and it is seen in certain conditions, like if the baby has got a premature delivery, or if there is preterm delivery, prematurity stage. Sometimes if there is birth asphyxia due to the umbilical cord involvement in the neck, that lead to the respiratory distress, there is birth asphyxia. Sometimes in case of the baby delivered by the diabetic mother, or even during the cesarean section, and there may be chance of asphyxia, baby asphyxia, and which initiate the injurious changes in the pulmonary component of lung, and that initiate the neonate respiratory distress syndrome. Sometime in case of sedation also, excessive sedation, or sometime in case of infection, in intrauterine infection. So all these etiological factors may play a role in the onset of neonate respiratory distress syndrome. So in all these conditions, due to the birth asphyxia or prematurity, the most important most important mechanism regarding the onset of neonate respiratory distress syndrome is that there is a deficiency of a pharmacological active substance known as surfactant. I think all of you know that surfactant is a pharmacological active substance synthesized and released by the type 2 pneumocyte present in the lung parenchyma. So the major function of the surfactant is that it lowers the surface alveolar surface tension. So in these all these etiological factor, because of the especially in the prematurity, the type 2 pneumocyte does not produces sufficient amount of surfactant, so the alveolar surface tension is going to increase. So when the surface tension is going to increase, there is that may lead to the collapse of the alveoli known as atelectasis. So when the alveoli is going to collapse, there will be hypoventilation, and this pulmonary hypoventilation may lead to the hypoperfusion, and that hypoperfusion inhibit the blood supply to the pulmonary component. So the pulmonary component undergo the epithelial, alveolar epithelial wall, alveolar wall, or lining epithelium, they undergo ischemic injury. So when the ischemic injury is going to start, and if it involves the capillary endothelium, the permeability of the pulmonary capillaries is going to increase, and that may lead to the exudation of plasma protein along with the fibrinogen, and that fibrinogen is converted into fibrin, and fibrin along with the exudative material plasma protein followed by the fluid, they form the hyaline membrane over the surface of alveolar wall and alveolar duct. So in this way, a hyaline membrane, eosinophilic hyaline membrane is going to form, and that hyaline membrane interfere the oxygen supply, and the baby suffer with a sudden and severe difficulty in breathing. There will be respiratory insufficiency, and that create a lot of problem. Sometimes the baby may undergo breathlessness, tachypnea, and so that required immediate treatment. So these are the this is the main mechanism regarding the neonate respiratory distress syndrome. So the major thing is that here in the premature baby, as the pneumocytes are not fully developed, so that may causes deficiency of the surfactant, and from here the disease respiratory distress syndrome is going to start. And if the other etiological factor are added, the formation of hyaline membrane is hastened, and that may create the lead to the neonate respiratory distress syndrome. In the other hand, in case of adult, the pathogenesis is slightly different. In the adult condition, the main etiology is that there is injury. Injury is the main thing that start the adult respiratory distress syndrome. So all those factors which causes destruction or injury in the pulmonary component may lead to the development of adult type of respiratory distress syndrome. This injury in the lung parenchyma or pulmonary component can be happen by the infection, especially in case of viral pneumonia, sometime oxygen toxicity because of inhalation of the irritant material like smoke, like gas, nitrogen dioxide. Sometime it may be due to the toxic agent, aspiration of the toxic material like a gastric content, or sometime it may be due to the drowning, that infected material can aspirated and deposit and go to aspirated and accumulated in the alveoli, and here it causes damage of the pulmonary component, and all component may undergo destruction. Sometime in case of trauma, burn, injury, or shock, especially septic shock, there may be chance of damage of the pulmonary component. Sometime in the drug like narcotics drug, in case of salicylate overdose, colchicine drug, fat embolism, and sometime in case of radiation, and sometime in multiple multiple transfusion. So in all these conditions, these are the etiological factor, and all these factors may initiate first of all the damage or destructive changes in the pulmonary component, like especially the pulmonary, the alveolar wall, interstitial tissue, lining epithelium, respiratory bronchiole. So all these component undergoes, there is sudden destructive changes. So when there is a destruction by any agent, because of a different kind of etiological factor, when the pulmonary component undergo destruction or injurious changes, that is followed by the inflammatory reaction. So inflammatory reaction occurs in the form of two way. One, there is first of all there is a overactivation of pulmonary macrophages, and that pulmonary macrophages produces a lot of cytokines that enhances the damage and destruction of a pulmonary component. Whole pulmonary component undergo destructive changes. So mediators, the pro-inflammatory cytokines, mediators in the form of interleukin 8, interleukin 1, tissue necrosis factor, macrophage inhibiting factor, all these factors provoke the destructive changes in the lung parenchyma in the pulmonary component. So at the same time, because of the acute inflammation, the neutrophils are going to infiltrate it, and they are more active, and their activation causes release of the certain proteolytic enzyme in the form of proteinase, collagenase, some of the free radicals. So all these factors combinedly causes destruction of alveolar wall or even pulmonary capillary endothelium. So when the pulmonary capillary endothelium undergo destruction either by the direct action by the etiological agent or by the chemical mediators released by the activated macrophages and leukocyte, they causes increase कैपिलरी परमेबिलिटी. तो जैसे ही पल्मोनरी इंडोथीलियम का इंजरी होगा बाय दिस एजेंट, the permeability is going to increase. So when the permeability is going to increase, what will going to happen? There will be exudation. The fluid along with the protein, along with the cell, are going to accumulate in the alveoli, and that may lead to the pulmonary congestion, that may lead to the pulmonary edema. The fibrin component also are going to accumulate at the site of lesion, at the site of injury. So these initiate the formation of hyaline membrane. At the same time, some of the macrophages produces another fibrogenic cytokines in the form of transforming growth factor or platelet derived growth factor or fibroblast growth factor. So this causes overactivation of the fibroblast, and that fibroblast again may lead to the formation of collagen fibrin synthesis at the site of lesion. So there is a initiation of fibrotic changes also here. So there is a destructive changes is followed by the inflammatory reaction. The capillary endothelium is going, pulmonary capillary endothelium is going to injured. That causes increased capillary permeability. So there will be vasodilatation as well, and whole result will be that there is a accumulation of the fluid in the alveoli, in the alveolar duct, and along with the plasma protein, along with the inflammatory cells, along with the fibrin accumulation, whole these component form a membrane, that is eosinophilic hyaline membrane, on the surface of bronchioalveolar wall or alveolar duct, or even in the lining epithelium of alveoli. So this membrane lines the whole structure, and that initiate the development of adult respiratory distress syndrome. So when the membrane is going to form, they again causes hypoventilation, they again causes hypoperfusion, they again causes ischemic injury, and when the injury is going to happen, again there will be increased capillary permeability, increase vasodilatation, and the whole things causes again accumulation of the fluid in the alveoli, in the alveolar duct, along with the plasma protein, along with the inflammatory cell, along with the fibrin. Fibrin is the major component, and whole accumulation may lead to the formation of a membrane, that is, it is eosinophilic hyaline membrane over the surface of alveoli, alveolar duct, and respiratory bronchiole. So in this way, the most important pathognomic lesion in the form of hyaline membrane is going to form. So this is the when it is formed, the clinical manifestation start in the form of difficulty in breathing, severe sudden onset of respiratory insufficiency, respiratory distress. Your patient is very much cynosed. He has need of immediate oxygen supply to overcome this respiratory insufficiency. So this is the usual mechanism behind the adult respiratory distress syndrome. So you are looking here that although the clinical manifestation in both conditions is similar, the main is that there is a sudden and severe onset of respiratory insufficiency, but their etiological agent and the basic mechanism behind them is slightly different. So you must know the etiopathogenesis of both neonate and adult respiratory distress syndrome. So far the especially in case of adult type of respiratory distress syndrome, sometimes the lung become more stiff. The lung, so a stiff lung is seen in case of adult type of respiratory distress syndrome. It is because there is a ischemic injury, destructive changes start in the pulmonary component. So sometimes the pneumocytes are also going to damage, and when the pneumocytes are going to damage, there will be again deficiency of surfactant. The affected alveoli is under collapse, and there will be atelectasis, there is solidification. So that is why there is formation of solid or stiff lung in case of adult type of respiratory distress syndrome. So this is the usual phenomena is going to happen in the adult type of respiratory distress syndrome. If you go for the morphological changes in the affected lung, you will be find that the lung is slightly stiff, it is congested, it is heavy, and it is airless because of collapse of the alveoli, because of the hypoventilation, because of the accumulation of the fluid, plasma protein, formation of hyaline membrane. So that lead to the airless alveoli in the affected part of the lung. The lung is diffusely affected. So this is not well localized area, but there is a diffuse involvement of lung in both conditions, neonate as well as in case of adult type of respiratory distress syndrome. So you must know that their involvement is almost always diffuse in nature. If you go for the microscopic examination, the whole component under a pulmonary component like pulmonary epithelium, pulmonary alveolar epithelium, the alveolar duct, the pulmonary wall, pulmonary capillary endothelium. So whole component undergo destructive changes and pathological changes will be seen in this part of lung parenchyma. So the first changes will be that there is the alveoli is collapsed in the form of atelectasis. Sometimes the most important pathognomic lesion, I have already told you that there is a formation of. So we are talking about the morphological changes in the affected part of the lung in case of respiratory distress syndrome. So hyaline membrane is the major changes, and some other important changes, microscopic changes will be seen in the affected part of the lung, that there will be interstitial and intra-alveolar edema, congestion, and that will be seen, and the intra-alveolar sometimes hemorrhage is also seen in case of respiratory distress syndrome. There may be another changes like in the form of proliferation of the remaining pneumocytes, and that causes that regenerate to overcome the damage, and there may be bronchopneumonia may supervene because of the inflammation of the lung parenchyma. There is an infiltration of the cells like leukocytes are infiltrated in the affected part of the lung. Pneumocyte undergo proliferation into the alveolar lumen and may be seen in the tuft of alveolar epithelium. And in the advanced stage, in the more advanced stage, as the disease is going to progress, the healing process start in the form of fibrotic changes. So there will be evidence of interstitial fibrosis. So all these microscopic changes seen in case of respiratory distress syndrome, because of the main changes is known as a formation of eosinophilic hyaline membrane. So it is also known as hyaline membrane disease. हाइलाइन मेम्ब्रेन डिजीज के नाम से भी कभी कभी हम लोग जानते हैं. सो इन द लास्ट पार्ट, what is the outcome of this respiratory distress syndrome? As you know that it is almost always a life-threatening condition and medical emergency is needed for the proper treatment in the ventilation. Oxygen supply should be given to prevent that of injurious changes in the lung parenchyma, and if it is not managed properly, there may be sudden death because of the severe respiratory insufficiency. Sometimes in case of adult respiratory distress syndrome, the hyaline membrane undergo liquefaction by the enzymes released by the macrophages, proliferated pneumocytes and leukocytes. They causes liquefaction of the hyaline membrane, so that there may be chance of resolution and that may initiate the recovery. But in the more complicated stage, there may be chance of other complication in the form of bronchopulmonary dysplasia. Bronchopulmonary dysplasia can be seen when there is inflammation and there is a proliferation of pneumocyte that create another pathological changes, another complication in the form of desquamative interstitial pneumonia, that is known as desquamative interstitial pneumonia. And sometimes if the fibrosis is in more advanced by the fibrogenic cytokines released by the activated macrophages, so fibrosis is going to in more advanced, that may lead to the interstitial fibrosis diffuse which may advance into the diffuse fibrosing alveolitis, and that is condition is known as Hayman's-Rich syndrome. Hayman's-Rich syndrome. So Hayman-Rich syndrome is another complication consequence of respiratory distress syndrome. That is nothing but it is diffuse fibrosing alveolitis. Diffuse or fibrosing alveolitis, that is known as Hayman's-Rich syndrome. So these are the some important facts about the respiratory distress syndrome. You must know, because the short notes may be asked in the terminal as well as in the university examination. The type of the RDS, the clinical presentation of RDS, the etiology of the RDS, the etiopathogenesis of both neonate and adult RDS, the pathological changes, that which is mainly the formation of a eosinophilic hyaline membrane, which is mainly composed of fibrin. You must know but cell debris in inflammatory cell, plasma protein, edema, congestion, all these are the component, but the major component is fibrin in the hyaline membrane, which is the most important pathognomic lesion, although other less important changes like in the form of congestion, in the form of edema, in the form of destruction of the alveolar component, in the form of proliferation of the pneumocyte, in the form of infiltration of the acute as well as chronic inflammatory cell. So these are the less common, less important pathognomic changes, but most one is formation of hyaline membrane, which is the pathognomic lesion in both neonate and adult type of respiratory distress syndrome. So this is clinically as well as for the theoretical point of view, it is very important topic. So you must go through the book and try to make the clear concept about the respiratory distress syndrome. So this is all about respiratory distress syndrome. In the next class we shall try to discuss another topic of lung, especially pulmonary thromboembolism and pulmonary hypertension, although it is a part of medicine class, but we shall try to discuss in the next class. Thank you.